All right. Hello, hello, hello. And I just realized that I don't have my sound monitor up. Give me 1 second. So much better. Just want to make sure that I do know that you can hear me today on the HRart Rise Morning Show, playing with a little bit of a different kind of production tool that I think is going to make the show just so much stronger in the end. But I am so happy that you're here with me today and that, yeah. So, how are you today? How has your week been? What has been going on? Last week, I think I was pretty transparent in the fact that I was struggling. I was definitely struggling last week. And I think that carried over into this week. I had some ugly low points as I'm going through this transition, and particularly with my business. There's really exciting things happen, but then there's also this amount of change that is resulting in just grieving. We are in the process of, I am in the process of getting really crystal clear about what I want to do for my business. And as a result, have to let go of certain things, which I thought would be so much easier than it really is. But when you've been doing it for 6 years, and I shouldn't even say that because it's beyond 6 years. We're talking about the way that I function professionally for close to a decade or more, and feeling called to shift in a different direction, knowing that that's the lane that I need to be in and that's what's right. But I underestimated the grieving process that is associated with it. And I don't know why, because we talk about it here. We talk about the power of grief and how much of it exists in the professional environment, but yet I think it kind of creeps and causes me to be surprised sometimes. Anyways, so yeah. So welcome to the HRart Rise Morning Show. I know some of you probably are not joining us live because I failed to post this, and the midst of change and me doing a lot of processing and a lot of different development this week, I totally just forgot. But that's okay because the replay will be here. And for future reference, I show up every Friday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And so if you mark it on your calendar, I will always be here. On top of that, if you subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell so that when I go live, it will notify you. So when I go in 5-10 minutes early to kind of get us warmed up and settled in for our time together on Friday mornings, you will know and have that nice little reminder. So I hope you have your cup of coffee and you're ready for our heart chat today, which is about self-care. So you have a right to self-care. It's so easy to say, but not so easy to do. We routinely put ourselves at the bottom of our priority list, finding ourselves sacrificing without a second thought time that we had devoted for ourselves. We need to treat this time as sacred because it is. You are worthy. Self-care is not optional, it's a right. So I say this topic as someone who is still learning and still a student. I felt really compelled to put that statement in there that you are worthy, which is something that I have to say to myself so many times. And I think that I've shared this, but in I don't know if I can, weird camera angle, but my first tattoo is a unicorn. It's easier this way, but I don't think I can show it with the camera there, but is a unicorn that says worthy across. Because I need that reminder so much, because I really do self-doubt if I am worthy of taking time for myself, if I'm worthy for success, if I'm worthy for other people's time. It's just, yeah, worthiness is a big, big thing. It's embedded in my why. It's embedded in my work. But I felt like it is totally relevant to our conversation for this week. So we're going to talk about self-care strategies. We're going to hit it from a different thought process of having a plan A, B, or C. So looking forward to sharing that with you in our heart chat in a few minutes. But before we get there, we need to do some posts to ponder. So our special segment of post to ponder, things that caught my attention in the last week, for February 12th, 2021. This is our post to ponder. And I think this week they might all be Instagram again. I have some LinkedIn ones, but I kind of today did a massive dump into the system. And so now they're going to be for the next 3 weeks. So we'll see which ones I put. So Instagram, following hashtag Lightworker, was posted by Meditation Secrets. And here is a picture of Muhammad Ali, which I will tell you that the image definitely caught my attention first before I read the quote. But the quote says, "I don't trust someone who is nice to me but rude to the waiter, because they would treat me the same way if I were in that position." As someone who is a people watcher and an observer, I can't help but question when I see inconsistencies across the board. So I think there's a level of integrity and that is exposed in the way that we treat people. I mean, I think that we all have different, what is the word? We have good and bad days, I guess is what I'm going after. We all have good and bad days that will definitely generate variations in how we act, but there's always this kind of core level solid vibration which we continually go back and attune to, and you can witness that as you observe people. And I think that's what really spoke to me, is not necessarily the conclusion about trust, but more so about the conclusions that, observations are powerful. And when we think no one is watching, because, a lot of times there aren't people watching because people aren't paying attention, but there are those who are living very intentionally and they are paying attention. Not to the silly things that I think we get all caught up and nervous about, but to how we present ourselves. What is our personal integrity in certain space? And I know, especially from a professional context, especially from an HR perspective, I wholeheartedly 100% watch people in meetings and how they present themselves in the office and make note of that. Because that definitely feeds into the greater aspect that we do in HR, which is basically we are doing people strategy and understanding the culture and the dynamics at play. And observation is one of those ways. So clearly this is probably another lesson that could go on forever, but we got other posts that we need to get through. Gabby Bernstein, one of my favorites, my spiritual teacher that I follow, but this is a repost. And I think it's Dr. Becky at Home is who the repost is from. But it says, "A tantrum is a child's way of saying, my feelings feel too big inside my body, and so they are exploding out of me. Please help me feel safe again. A tantrum is not an attempt to manipulate a parent. A tantrum is a desperate plea for a warm, sturdy leader." Going back to my foundational training background, I'm a big Bob Pike core believer. One of Pike's adult learning laws is adults are babies in big bodies. And so this hit me from being a parent, because I've shared multiple. Being a parent, my children are one of the biggest teachers that I've gotten in this lifetime. At the same token, there are certain attributes from being a child that carry over and are still ways that we express ourselves as adults. And one of those that really resonates with me is this idea of tantrums. If you have read my first book, From Heart to Heart, it's basically a collection of adult tantrums that my mother would classify him that way. In fact, a lot of my family would classify him that way. And in the book, I talk about how it's called the cry of the banshee by my relatives. And looking back, this is exactly what it was. No matter where I was in my adult life, my feelings were just so big inside that they're exploding out of me. And I needed to find healthy ways to cope with that. So that's still something that's there. I think there is a real big tie with those of us who are empaths. And so I want to just reiterate that. And I think add a different perspective. And the whole piece of like feeling safe, I can definitely say when I have these ugly cries, tantrums, cry the banshees, it is a feeling of lack of safety. So yes, talking about children, totally applicable, but also recognizing it from how it may be materializing in us adults who can't let go of some of those things. And there's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't make us a literal baby, but there's just so much we can learn from children because there's just no filter. They're just raw emotion, just reacting to the world before we start establishing what we believe are societal norms or what's acceptable or not acceptable. Gabby Bernstein again, she's been posting up a storm and it's been resonating with me. No amount of guilt can solve the past, and no amount of anxiety can change the future. So from a Chinese medicine perspective, we talked about emotions in the past on this show, and guilt and anxiety, wants to just give permission to release. Because if you hold on to it and you brood on it, there is no guarantee that the guilt is going to solve or give extra clarity about the past or make it different. Like the past is the past. And in fact, all of us probably, like, as you are continuing to learn, can look at the past and no matter how much it sucked, knew that it was totally intentional and needed for you to be where you are today. So unless you want to change who you are 125% today, then you don't want to affect the past, no matter what it was like or what you wish it would have been like. And on top of that, anxiety about the future, you can't change it. Every single day, you just show up and being present. And this ties really a lot about the self-care strategies we're going to talk about, what we do in every moment of every single day. Because there's no promise of tomorrow. There's no promise of what is the time frame or duration of our future. All we have is today. And so it is why today is so critical and important. We can't live, and we cannot let the fear paralyze us. Rebecca Hanlon, local, really inspirational female entrepreneur here in the York, Pennsylvania community. She is the president of Our York Media. If you do not follow her on LinkedIn or follow their work, I highly recommend the work that Rebecca and Will do, her husband-wife team on this marketing firm. She posts things on LinkedIn, I can say, that hit home for me time and time again. And I'm so grateful to know her, but even more grateful just to have her in my professional network and get to read these things. So Rebecca posted, what if we stopped worrying about the competition and freely referred prospective clients to someone who could do it better? What if we stopped obsessing over formal employees, taking ideas or talents elsewhere, and instead cheered on their success? What if we did business not with the intent to win, but with the mission to see all of us grow? Let's reimagine success as all of us succeeding. I know that she's writing it from a personal space, hit me because these are the things that I needed to hear, that are these gentle kind of affirmations, which is once again another kind of hint to what we'll be unpacking today. But these affirmations that I needed to hear, me shifting my business and moving to a space where I will be referring prospective, active clients to what used to be my competition per se, and knowing that they're going to take care of those clients is scary, shifting in lanes like that. Also, we just recently made a job offer and was accepted, and I'm looking forward to sharing that new team member with you in the next month when they come on board. But thinking about the ripple effects of who they are leaving, and wanting and hoping that leaders take the approach that I've kind of always embraced, as difficult as it might seem, of wanting that person to grow and to flourish. But yeah, anyways, so kudos to Rebecca Hanlon. You have once again swooped in at the right time with a LinkedIn post. Last but not least, keep it a little silly. So I follow this. I don't even know why I obviously when I screenshot it, it got rid of who it was posted. But I have a feeling this is probably one of those introverted channels that I follow. But it says planning an argument in my head and me arguing. That's really how I feel. People don't believe that I'm introverted in nature. I really, really am. And I go through this big dramatic scene in my head of what I'm going to do when there is conflict and how I'm going to come at it. And then this is literally what I look like when it's happening. So just a little bit of perspective for you extroverted folk that don't have to plan and come out like that. And then or dealing with the little kitten with their head tucked through on the cardboard pretending that they are a dinosaur. Just some humor, some fun. All right, so let's hop into this heart chat talking about self-care strategies. And we talk about, I know if you're like me and you know that self-care is important, we create these time frames and we have to make them be super treasured. They're sacred time frames. And there's a couple ways that I have done this. Number one, there's appointments that I've built in. So there's professionals who are provide services that are in self-care, that are about restoring you. And I've talked about this, that massage therapists, chiropractors, acupuncturists, my medical Qigong practitioner, they are taking care of me and physically, mentally, and emotionally. Those are appointments that I have on a monthly basis. They are non-negotiable. So I like that because when they are an appointment, you feel and someone's expecting you and you're paying for a service, you're accountable to that. So that's one thing that I want to put out there that I put into place very early on when I realized that I was not taking care of myself. But today, what I want to talk about is taking accountability for your own self, actual personal practices that you're putting into place. And I think this kind of goes into this idea of a point A, a point B, and a point C. Actually, a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C. So let me get this plan A up. So when I think about plan A, I had this grand vision of what my personal practice should be, especially as I've been studying medical Qigong. So as I've been studying medical Qigong and learning about all the benefits of a daily practice, I had these envisions of doing an hour of Qigong every morning and then journaling and reading from a book. It's still this beautiful practice that when I do get to do it, it is awesome. The reality is that I have a business. I teach part-time. I am a mother. I am a wife, and all the other stuff that I have going on as well. So to have this devoted practice that probably equates to 3 hours was just not doable. And in fact, it was causing more stress. And so whether you have a personal practice that you know is like going to the gym or, journaling or writing or reading, like sometimes I think we build these really well-intentioned self-care practices that this is what it needs to be to restore me. And that's absolutely a legit awesome practice, but if it doesn't happen, it doesn't do any good for you. The whole idea of the self-care strategy is to fill your own bucket back up. And I also think that we need to focus on that. That's the main intent of self-care. We think of it as stress relief, or we think about it as unwinding or checking out. But really, when I talk about self-care, it is restoring, renewing, and re-energizing the body. It is allowing the body to be able to do the work that you want to do. So if you're on the cusp of, if you are overwhelmed, if you can barely think when you get home, those are all signs that you are running the tank to empty and really struggling. And then if you're like me, when I'm there, I can't even sleep. Like I've run it so dry. I'm so overtired. My body aches so much that I can't even get the rest, like physical rest, to move in the right direction. So I want to just put that out there. That's what's so important, why we got to figure out self-care. And so I think all the well-intentioned articles out there that give you all these awesome practices, if you get to a space where you can master and do those on a regular basis, or if you have the ability to have that in your schedule, man, I am jealous, and that is awesome. But for those of us who are struggling to put that in there, and we've created this perfect little practice of self-care, if it's not happening, it's not doing us any good. And knowing what happens as a result as we continue to neglect and not do it is what happens. So plan A is there. It's stellar. I use it when I'm on vacation. But for every single day, I need to have at least a plan B and a plan C. So how does plan B materialize? So plan B, I can't help but use these cat pictures this week. If you saw on LinkedIn that video of that court hearing where the one attorney accidentally activated a filter with a cat, which I just found so funny. So now when I saw these cat pictures, I just couldn't help myself. So that's why there's these kitty pictures embedded in this week's show. But so when we talk about plan B is, for me, it's rest. It's listening to my body. And I had a hard time around this. I think if you follow me on Instagram, you saw that I put about a special chair, a napping chair for my office, so that I can take little power naps, like that are legit 25 minutes. If I go beyond that, then I'll probably be out for like 2 hours, and that's like hardcore nap. Now, with that being said, there are times when I've neglected my self-care, and on the weekends when we don't have anything planned, I have engaged in the 2 to 3 hour nap and allowed myself to be in that state of just being tired. Because there is something to be said that when we're there and not energized and going, that it is putting me in a restorative kind of meditative state. Whether you would describe it like that, that's how it feels to me. So as I'm in this kind of sleepy haze after the 3 hours till I go to bed, it really forces me to be in a state of just being and allowing my body to restore the way that it needs to, giving the brain and my emotions the mental permission and emotional permission to just kind of pause and be. But rest is really key. This was one of those things that I learned in the first year when I was in medical Qigong. We had these 2 hour lunch breaks, and my teacher takes naps, and I was baffled by this. You take naps in the middle of the day? We go to professional training. We have hour lunches. We don't take naps, and here we are. This is like a cultural norm. And now, as I've finished 2 years of my formal training program, I find myself going to eat and then coming back and taking this 25-minute nap, and it really makes a huge difference to get through the rest of the day. So I know that there are people out there that are experienced nappers, but my plan B is to rest. And there are times where I can find it throughout my day, like I'm doing allergy shots to build up my immune system because I have horrible seasonal allergies, courtesy of Pennsylvania. That's one of the great gifts of all the nature and beauty that we have here. But I have to wait for 20 minutes. And now due to COVID, we sit in our cars. That is the perfect time for my nap. So sometimes I will wait 30 minutes because I set an alarm and basically get my shot, and I go and take a little napper in the car. But it's all about really listening to the body and recognizing when it needs rest. Now, you can supplement this with a Qigong standing meditative kind of practice, which is just as effective and can take 5 minutes, which is the other piece that I have learned. So listening to my body when it needs a break, and then finding a way to give that break that is nourishing. So going and getting a new cup of coffee, eating some sort of sugary snack is not going to nourish, re-energize, and restore me. It's going to actually go the opposite. Whereas if I get more water and I rehydrate, if I eat a snack that is going to be something that I'm craving, so I shouldn't say craving, what my body is asking for, there is a chance that I'm nourishing and I will see this restorative. So part of this self-care piece for a plan B and a plan C when we get there is really listening and honoring when the body requests something. Because the body will request, it will ask you to stop, it will ask you to pause, it will ask you to sleep. And sometimes I don't sleep and sometimes it's just a permission to not do anything and just be for that moment. Listen to an audible book that I know is serving my highest good. This can materialize in so many different ways. So that's my plan B. Now you're hearing my plan A, you're hearing my plan B. Yours, find what yours is. All right, so let's talk about plan C. So we've talked about plan A, plan B, and now plan C. What is this plan C? Plan C is when I'm so busy, I can't get away from my desk. I know that I should rest, but I don't have time for it. I need to be taking 30 seconds and just focusing on the breath. I think that we underestimate time and time again the power of breath. Breath is chi cultivation in its simplest form, the gift of life, the breath of bringing in new oxygen to nourish the body, and then exhaling out things that don't serve us, removing those from the body. I think that's just this really kind of beautiful, beautiful blend. So taking a breath, taking 3, I will pause, and usually I'll put my computer on sleep so the screen goes off, but I will just inhale through the nose, exhale out through the mouth. Imagining that I'm inhaling, nourishing my body, exhaling out anything that I need to release. If you really want to get fancy, inhaling in, imagining that the oxygen comes in, travels down to the kidneys that are right by your lower base spine there, and imagine them just kind of coming down and filling. Those kidneys are one of our main energy sources. That's why our lower back starts to hurt at the end of the day. That's all kind of there. But just inhaling in, exhaling out. Inhaling in, feeling that traveling down to those kidneys. Exhaling out. So literally probably 3 minutes of breath. I try to do that really slowly and intentionally, matching my inhale and then my exhale out. So that hopefully it hits a duration of 30 second inhale and 30-second exhale. But 3 rounds of that, and it will be amazing, like what that will do. So plan C. So really, when we're talking about a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C, what we want is to identify what can we do in different situations when time is less. What can we do given whatever environment we're going to be in? So breath, I can do pretty much anywhere. I mean, it's not like I'm having to meditate or I'm sleeping, but I can close my eyes and I can inhale through my nose and exhale out through my mouth pretty quietly. And I can do it even before I teach my classes at the college. And people just don't know, So that's really what it's about, a plan B, a plan B, a plan C, so that every day I'm taking care of my energy. Now, what I think I want to just say is, sometimes we think, yeah, but is those plan Bs and those plan Cs as effective as plan A? I thought no. For a long time, I thought no. But recently, as I've come into my life functions and my career functions in busy seasons, I'm always busy, but I have really busy seasons, and then it kind of comes back. As I was coming into a busy season, I had to transition to these plan Bs and plan Cs. I had to. There was no way I could do plan A. And it was really hard for me because when we were in true quarantine and lockdown, I got to do plan A pretty consistently. And that was my life. That was the world that I lived in. That's when I wrote this. This was plan A. This was the outcome of plan A's. But even though I was doing that consistently, it was painful when it left. And I thought, whew, man, I just felt like I just am falling backwards and regressing. But what I found is I was still treating patients. So I was still doing medical Qigong therapy sessions. And watching the results, because that's one of the number one ways that I can do it. When we do medical Qigong treatments, I'm using my energy in conjunction with connecting to a larger energy, but it will deplete my own energy. And if I'm not in tuned and taking care of myself, it puts me at risk as a practitioner. So really being conscious of how I felt, if I would be able to do it or not do it, was a really great gauge. And on top of that, to discover that as I was treating, that the sessions were even just as powerful or more than they were before, with me integrating these plan B and plan Cs for basically purging and cultivating energy, was the proof kind of in the pudding that told me that I'm still doing what I need to do to take care of myself while I'm navigating what is happening right now. So, plan A, plan B's, plan C's. If you have a plan B and a plan C that you have found that is awesome, that I have not discovered yet, please share them, because I know these are what serve me. It does not mean that's what serves all. And so we need those ideas. So if you have any, please leave them in the comments below. Would love to hear them. All right, so we're going to start something new this week. After listening to a message this past weekend about the power of affirmations and how affirmations allow us to have these statements that put us in this really beautiful space of attunement. And so I want to every week end our heart chats with some powerful affirmations that align with what we were talking about, to tune you into that vibration, really raise your vibration, which is our intent for these shows every week. And then on top of that, I'm going to make a PDF version of these affirmations and include those as a downloadable in the HR Intuitive community. So if you're not a part of the HR Intuitive community, it's 100% free. Go to hrintuitive.com, join, and I link this show there, but I'm going to start putting our affirmations for download there that you can have on a weekly basis. Okay? So our affirmations for this week are here, and I'm going to encourage you to kind of read them with me. And if you're in a space where you've got earbuds in and you can't read out loud, then just listen, okay? I am worthy. The time for me is sacred, and I protect it as such. I am devoted to caring for my essence. A moment of connection fuels my soul. I am worthy. So those are your affirmations for this week. Use them to start shifting your mindset, to start protecting that space and caring for yourself, and recognizing that even a moment of connection is worthwhile. All right. So we have one last thing to do. I got to give you the sneak peek of next week. So if you're curious about what are we talking about in next week's Heart Chat. So you are you are needed as a soul stirrer. I love that phrase, a soul stirrer. Your connected path is sending powerful ripples throughout lives. You need to show up when you feel called, recognizing that it is essential work regardless of immediate outcome. Next week, we are talking about your powerful ripples that you are doing. Even when we can't see those outcomes, you are impacting and you are influencing. Just like what we were talking about with Rebecca Hamlin and what she does, what she posts, like she sends powerful ripples that she may never even see those outcomes. And that's because she is responding when she feels called. She felt moved to write that post for whatever reason. And the impact that she's had on me and probably many, many others. And I've seen that happen through other posts. So next week, we're going to talk about what does it feel like when you're called? Like this seems like this big dramatic thing, but really it's just a vibrational shift that you're recognizing anytime you're feeling this little nudge. And what do we have to do? And what happens if we don't? Let's talk about that next week in our Heart Chat. So once again, I'm so grateful that you joined me today. I hope that you have a great, fantastic week. Remember, go to the hrintuitive.com, download those affirmations, say them time and time again, help effective so that you take care of you, and know that if you don't take care of you, then nothing else matters. The work does not matter because you won't be here to do it. You won't be here to deliver. Thank you for joining me. I will talk to you next week as we tackle talking about how you are a powerful soul stirrer. I just feel like gotta put at a soul stirrer. All right, let's play some music. Bye.